How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper, and my goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading when the price is going up or down. So I did look at the 1 hour. We do have a decent bounce. So the question is, will we continue? Right now, VWAP is pushing up. Momentum is gaining strength. That money flow does want to push forward. This does look positive for the 1 hour. If it can continue, we can run up. But we will get more onto that later on when we get to Bitcoin itself. Over on the Dixie for the daily, we are pulling back. We did hit that 300 EMA, and we did break it much like we said. Watch for a break toward that 103. If we continue to drop down, again, that would be positive for crypto, as usually they are inversely related. Our RSI is pulling back. Stochastic is rounding with the orange above blue. VWAP, that yellow wave, is in the bearish territory, pushing momentum that blue wave lower and causing money flow to sell off. Remember, we are using Market Cipher B edits and Market Cipher A free version 1.1. So we are seeing a bit of a sell-off. Right now, our Market Cipher is set up slightly different. Here's our current inputs and current styles. Still 70% opacity. But our momentum is dropping, money flow is weakening, VWAP is pulling back. We did reject that neutral, so we have a lower high after getting a lower low. If we continue to favor bearish here, we will see momentum continue lower, and that will cause that money flow to continue to sell off, and price action will continue lower. Remember, we do have that 103, 102, and around that 101 support levels. Over on total for the daily, we are getting a decent bounce forward off that support level, so that is very positive for us. If we can continue forward from here, we could try to break that bear flag, sorry. So we could try to break into our bear flag that we did break away from. If we do break into that flag, we could continue further. Our stochastic does want to push up. RSI is trying to gain strength. Momentum does want to push up as well. That money flow is trying to gain strength through that neutral as our VWAP and momentum are starting to push up. If that can continue, we could make that push up toward that golden pocket and try to break away from the zone. I would watch if we reject this blue EMA again. We could see a breakdown. Ooh, did not mean to grab that. Meant to grab this channel and the corner of it. We would be testing the bottom of this channel, so if we do break away here, this could pull us under. So I would watch the next couple candles. If we do break down and continue, it's likely we would pull back, break that EMA, and that's where we could see that push down to around that 479 area. That would be our max breakdown for that bear flag. That could bring all of our altcoins lower, so I would exercise caution, but this isn't a bad area to DCA in. So if you haven't already, you should at least be thinking of it. Over on Bitcoin dominance for the daily, we are pulling back. We do see several crosses with lower EMAs crossing those higher EMAs. I would exercise caution. If we continue to see these EMAs dropping below higher EMAs, we could continue this bearish trend. That bearish trend would be good for our altcoins though, because we would want to see our altcoins gain against Bitcoin at some point for an altcoin season or a boom for our altcoins. Momentum is pulling back, VWAP is selling off, money flow is pulling back, stochastic is dropping, and RSI is weakening. This does look good again for Bitcoin or at least our total, as it could push altcoins up, and if we get altcoins to push up, then we could revisit some of those previous bear market areas, like bull market breakdown areas, that could try to push us further up. Remember, dominance weakening doesn't mean Bitcoin has to sell off either. Bitcoin can just gain very gradually as our altcoins run up, and with as beat down as Bitcoin is, we have a pretty decent environment for that to happen. Our stochastic on Bitcoin futures for the daily does want to round. RSI is pulling back. That VWAP has lower highs with consistent lows, so I would watch if we break that neutral again. Momentum will remain bearish, and that money flow will start to break away. Over on the 4 hour, we do have higher lows with lower highs, so we tried to make a rising channel. We tried to break down. We are meeting support on this flag, so that could be positive. We did hold that 57k range. If we can continue to hold this range, it's likely we could try to push further up. That VWAP is in the bullish territory. Momentum is gaining strength. That is trying to push money flow higher. Stochastic wants to gain strength as well, and our RSI is starting to curl, but if that stochastic continues to push forward, our RSI will start to bounce and bring price action up. Over on the 2 hour, we do have that decent bounce. We could be making a cup and handle here. So to grab our trend line, your cup would top would be here, your handle would be here. So we would need to bounce off these EMAs, then break that handle level or that cup like top of the cup. That could try to break us up right around that 59K. That would be positive if we can continue further up. However, if we do start to reject lower or we hit that kind of neckline of our cup, we could reject that, push lower, then we could still see a bearish scenario play out. However, if we start to see this push forward and we do reclaim that candle wick, remember wicks are like gaps, usually they fill, that could help propel us up. And we do have some higher gaps right around that 63K. So if we do see this break forward, that could be the beginning of another decent run up. Momentum is trying to push up, but VWAP's falling back, so I would exercise caution. That is giving momentum a red dot, which will pull momentum lower and cause money flow to weaken if we're not careful. Over on the 1 hour, we are breaking all of our EMAs, so that's not positive, but we do have a long lower shadow candle. So if this is followed by a strong green candle, we could try to hit that neckline and break it in the next hour. Stochastic is pulling back, momentum does want to round, VWAP is pulling back, and money flow is selling off. That yellow wave, our VWAP, is starting to weaken, so I would watch if it continues to weaken. Momentum, our blue wave, will continue to sell off, and that red wave, our money flow, will show people are continuing to sell. That would lead price action lower. Over on Bitcoin for the daily, we do have some consolidation going on, so we could be making a bear flag if we're not careful. That consolidation after a breakdown, remember, is what creates a bear flag. We would have a pull right here, and then we grabbed the wrong thing. Then we could drop that pull down, and that would give us that break of that 52K. So I would exercise caution on that breakdown. We are going to still watch for a retest into this previous channel. If I can grab it, then we could try to push forward if we are able to break and hold above the current consolidation range we have. However, if we stay in this consolidation range, we could see a pull back and still get a breakdown. Our stochastic does want to round, RSI is trying to push up, the VWAP is rounding away, momentum does want to round, and money flow is pulling back. So overall, I would exercise caution. Over on the 4 hour, we do have a rejection of the top of our flag area, so I would watch very closely. Momentum does favor bearish as VWAP does want to pull back. So if that VWAP breaks the neutral and we get another strong wave here, we could see another drop down. And if we break that 57K range again, it's likely we would reject and push lower. Stochastic does want to round, VWAP is pulling back, so I would watch. Over on our 2 hour, we are rejecting the top of our flag area. Our stochastic is dropping away, our double line with orange above blue. RSI is trying to make a bounce, so if stochastic can remain above 30, RSI could start to push price action up. Momentum is trying to break bullish, but that VWAP is pulling back. If that VWAP gets a lower low here, we could break down, but currently we have a higher low and we are attempting to break back into the bullish territory. If that VWAP can flip back into the bullish territory, making a higher low, we would have higher lows with higher highs. That would give us a bullish trend to push momentum and money flow further up, and that would strengthen the 2 hour, which over time would strengthen the higher time frames. We have been green for quite some time on the 2 hour. We have some green here on the 4 hour that keeps flashing, and we are green on the 1 hour currently. We need this green to hold. Remember, when they hold across all three of these time frames, that's where you could get a strong run up. So our stochastic is pulling back here. We do have our blue above orange though, so we are trying to get a push forward. If we can make this push forward, we could prevent a bearish breakdown of RSI and price action. VWAP is trying to break that neutral, so watch very close. That VWAP needs a consistent high with higher lows to create a bullish trend to push momentum higher, keeping that money flow bullish and strengthening those higher time frames to give that bullishness across the 1, 2, and 4 hour. Over on graph for the daily, we do have pretty similar consolidation, so I would exercise caution That could be what would push us down toward that 14,316. Stochastic does want to round. RSI is pretty flat. VWAP is starting to break down. Money flow is bearish and our momentum is starting to round. So overall, I would exercise caution and watch those lower time frames. If we see total make a rejection, it's likely our altcoins will follow. Over on the 4 hour, stochastic is pushing up. VWAP is gaining strength. Momentum does want to push up. So we do look like we want to gain some strength, but that VWAP is struggling. If that VWAP cannot create higher highs with higher lows from this point, momentum will start to break down. That will bring money flow lower, and we will see a rejection. So watch the lower time frames. They need to break more bullishly. Over on this 2 hour, we could have a rising channel. Nope, don't really have a rising channel in my opinion, so that could be positive. Stochastic does want to push up. RSI is pushing up. VWAP is remaining bullish, pushing momentum higher. If that momentum can break neutral, money flow would continue to strengthen. That would be positive for those higher time frames. As when the lower time frames become more bullish, we can see that push up. We did have a gap, so if you were watching for that gap like we tell you to, you could have gotten a decent run forward. Over on the 1 hour here, we did break our supports and we are pushing up on those EMAs, so that is positive, but we're rejecting that purple, one of our third highest, so I would exercise caution. If we continue to reject that EMA, we could push back toward our lower EMAs, which are all very close together, and if we see a rejection of our entire EMA band, we could make this a lower high, and then we could see lower lows that could bring us down, so I would watch for that. Stochastic does want to round. RSI is pulling back. That VWAP does have lower highs. We did have a higher lows, so we did want to gain some bullish momentum. If that VWAP can prevent breaking into the bearish territory and holding, we could see momentum remain bullish still, and money flow could remain bullish and try to push those higher time frames up. I would watch that VWAP very close. Right now, we are starting to round away a little bit after making a lower high, but we could try to zigzag our way forward. That would be what you would want to see if you want to see this bullish run continue. Over on Ankr for the daily, we are pushing down toward the bottom of our channel. We did try to break away, but we were unsuccessful, so that is positive. VWAP is rounding away, stochastic is pulling back, momentum does want to round, and money flow is starting to sell off. Over on the 4 hour, we do have a push above this support level, so that is positive. That's our 2673. Momentum is trying to gain strength with our green dot, signaling our VWAP does want to push forward. If VWAP can continue forward, that would be positive, and we could see price action continue up. Our stochastic does want to push further. We do have our blue above orange. RSI is pushing up, so we do have some bullish hope. I would watch the lower time frames for that to continue. Over on the 2 hour, we still have a gap down here, so I would exercise caution. We could see a rejection, fill that gap, and that could be the beginning of a breakdown from our channel. Our stochastic does want to round away. RSI is pulling back. VWAP is starting to push down, which could cause momentum to round, and money flow could break down. So I would watch very close. We do look like we are creating a few gaps here. If we zoom in on the 1 hour, we have 2 gaps below us, 3 if you count right there, so I would exercise caution zooming back out. We did try to push through that 250 EMA and we got rejected. We are trying to hold on our, I believe it's our 200. If we do break this EMA, then we're likely going to continue lower, so I would exercise caution. That could start a bearish trend and we could end up filling those gaps. If we fill those gaps and then we don't pull back into this channel, it's likely the bears could gain control and we could see that retest down. That would be around that 2417. Stochastic does want to push up. RSI is trying to gain strength. Momentum is pushing up. VWAP is remaining bullish. We do have a higher low, so that is positive. If that VWAP can continue to remain bullish, we will see momentum bring money flow higher, and that would give us some strength to try to push toward those higher EMAs and potentially break them. If we can break them and hold, that would be positive for our higher time frames, as that could start to push us further up. Over on XRP for the daily, if I can get the mouse to work with us, we are trying to run forward, so this could be positive. This could make a cup and handle too, so we would want to watch. Remember, a cup and handle would be a bullish pattern, and it being on a daily could push you up pretty decent. So if I can get the line, that could be a retest of around that 5150 area. So that would be very positive. If we can reclaim that area, we could push, that would be our value area low. So then we could try to make a trend toward our point of control right up at that 62. We do have several supports on the way to break, so we would want to watch that. Stochastic is pushing up, RSI is gaining strength, VWAP is pushing further up, giving momentum strength and trying to push that money flow into the bullish territory. If that VWAP can continue to run up here, momentum will continue up and money flow will start to gain some strength as well. Over on the 4 hour, we could have that little bit of a pullback. That may be a little bit of a handle and a push forward. So if we can break through here, that may be a push up. We would want to break that 300 EMA though. If we get rejected by the 250 and 300 EMA here, it's likely we would pull back and continue to sell off. Our momentum does want to round away. Stochastic is pulling back. RSI is starting to drop down due to the stochastic pulling back. VWAP is starting to push down, so I would watch. If that VWAP continues to push down, momentum will continue to weaken and money flow could start to flatten out and pull back. Over on the 2 hour, that would be a little more better looking handle, and that would be a bounce off the 300 EMA. If we can continue above this EMA and break our neckline, that would be positive and we could see a bullish run up. However, if we reject this neckline, then break our EMA to the downside, it's likely the bears could still gain control and push us lower. Momentum does want to round, RSI is starting to pull back. Stochastic is trying to make a bounce, but it looks like it's struggling, so I would watch that stochastic close. VWAP does have higher lows and it wants to break that neutral, but we're struggling. If we cannot break that neutral and get higher high with higher lows, we will see momentum start to weaken, money flow would pull back, and we would see a sell-off from this point. Over on the 1 hour, RSI is starting to round away. Momentum does have lower highs, so I would exercise caution. That could bring us lower. VWAP does have higher highs with higher lows, so that is positive. That could push momentum further, giving money flow strength. And if we can see that money flow remain bullish on the 1 hour, that will give higher time frame strength. Remember, we need that on the 1 hour. We have it on the 2 hour as well, and we do have it on the 4 hour. So that does give us that kind of environment to see a strong run up, potentially retesting some previous resistance areas. Over on ALGO for the daily, we do have some sort of a consolidation that could be going on, so I would exercise caution. If we do continue to consolidate here, we could have a very big bear flag, so we will draw that out real quick. That would be, let's see, I don't like those highs. These highs connect a little more. That could be a freak break up and a freak break down. And then you would draw from your beginning to your end of your breakdown zone, and then you would apply that down. That could give us a 7-cent algo, so I would exercise caution, as that would be below our lowest lows. Stochastic does want to round away, RSI is starting to pull back, VWAP is starting to round as well, momentum does want to reject, so if that VWAP breaks down, getting a lower high and consistent lows, momentum will reject, bringing money flow lower, and we will see a pretty decent sell-off. Over on our 4 hour, we do have a bounce off that support level of our 1350. That is positive. We are starting to stay above EMA levels. So if we can continue above these EMA levels, we could try to push forward. Momentum does want to push up. VWAP is trying to gain strength. We did get a lower low, but now we are retesting that bullish territory. If that VWAP can remain bullish here, that yellow wave, we could continue further up. However, if that VWAP rolls away, we're going to see momentum start to sell off and bring money flow lower. That would start to give us that breakdown, so I would exercise caution. But if the rest of the market does push forward, it's likely ALGO would follow as well. Stochastic does want to round on the 2 hour. RSI is starting to go flat, so I would exercise caution. But with the stochastic pushing forward, RSI could continue to bounce and bring price action up. We would want to retest those EMAs and break above them. VWAP is remaining bullish, pushing that momentum higher, that yellow wave and blue wave respective. Money flow is starting to gain strength, that green wave, so that does show we do have some buying pressure. If we can continue to get this buying pressure, we will continue further up and see a continued rise here. Over on the 1 hour, we are struggling with our 300 EMA, so I would watch. Remember, if we reject that EMA, we're likely going to continue lower. Stochastic does want to run up. RSI is pushing forward. Momentum is gaining strength. That VWAP is starting to look a little weak though. We do have lower highs after breaking bearish, so I would watch if that VWAP rounds away here. We will see momentum start to fall down, and that will cause money flow to sell off. Thank you for watching tonight's channel. I hope you have a great